Hello, guys. Ooh, so I'm about to get set up and do the weekly readings for, let me look. I think I'm on Cancer, Leo, Virgo today. But before I do that, I wanted to bring up a subject that's been coming up for me and clients quite a bit lately, and that's about emotional EQ, pretty much emotional IQ, how you navigate your emotions. And I often get asked the question, how do I master my emotions? And, part of what I do as a coach is I help people to find their triggers, their cores, their anchors, the things they go back to, their negative self-talk, their how they play with emotions and what the cores are to it. And, recently I had this situation where I had these overwhelming emotions that were coming up, and I was kind of pissed off at myself that I was reacting, right? Because what are emotions but a reaction? We're nothing but a bag of chemical reaction. There's nothing about us that's really truly solid if you break it down to the atom, negative and positive ions, right? We have nothing but a chemical reactor. That's all we are, and that's all emotions are a chemical reaction. So recently I found myself literally beating myself up for having these emotions. They were big and they were overwhelming, and they were ones I didn't like, and I was judging them harshly. And I was judging myself, because what happens when we have these emotions, especially when you do, it's not that I consider myself better, but I tell myself, you've done too much work to not have control. You don't have enough control over this situation. You're not controlling your emotions. Look at you, you're reacting. Well, I had this huge aha over a situation that came up recently, a couple in sequence, like over the last couple weeks. And as I was navigating the situation, these last two were very truly situations where it's appropriate to be upset. It's appropriate to be angry. It was appropriate to be sad. It was appropriate to be disappointed. And, after I just made a decision that I'm not going to react or engage or twist things or manipulate anything. I'm just going to find the core of where this emotion is coming from, what need isn't getting met, where I felt the failure was at it. And, it gentled a little bit. I found my center, and I had this aha that, we're not designed to control or master our emotions. Our only job is to navigate them. They're going to come up. We are a chemical reaction. We are emotion. We are spirit. We are just one little ball of intention that happened. And here we are with all these reactions, both physically, chemically, emotionally. And, we do have a lot of emotional stimuli, but we don't have a lot of room to express it. So we have, if you go on social media today, we're going to see a bomb in Lebanon. We're going to see children in captivity. We're going to see Black Lives Matter and people, crying for equality. We're going to see politicians arguing and fighting. We're going to see corporations limiting our voice. We're going to see frustration, right? And all of that emotional stimuli, we don't have appropriate venues for us to express the emotions that come up with all of that. And so we suppress them, right? And we have this anger, this resentment, hate even. Like, I hate this group for doing the things that they do. And I hate this idea or this ideology. And we have hate, and we have anger and resentment. And all of those it's not really hate. That's the opposite of love. Hate is resentment at not getting our needs met, right? And so it has everything to do with need. So if we're not feeling we have equal footing, then we have resentment. If we don't feel like we have a voice or control over a situation, we have frustration. If we have somebody taking our rights, we have anger. And these are all just unexpressed needs that we have, right? So the opposite of love is apathy, right? So apathy is, to me, probably the most dangerous emotion, because it's lack of emotion. It's a lack of connectivity completely. Apathy and third-party referencing, when people don't talk about the other people in their life, or third-party disassociation, where they're they, them, not he, she, or not even a name. Like, I see how many steps people take to create a separation between them and anyone else's emotional responses. And apathy to me is more terrifying than indifference. Indifference is, sometimes holding space for an outcome, right? So for me, I'm not indifferent. Like how am I not upset about A, B, C, or X, Y, Z, right? 1, 2, 3. Whatever the situation is, how can I not be upset? Well, this is what I can do about the situation, whatever the thing is, right? And then you have to hold space for the higher good, which is the collaboration of the individuals and consciousnesses involved to see the higher picture and rise above it. And you can hold space for that outcome. But that doesn't mean that you don't look at the possibility and the potential for it to go bad, because the path of enlightenment is not all rainbows and sunshine. You have to go through the dark night of the soul first in order to recognize how bright the light actually can be. And it's in those darkest moments that when you shine just a little bit is everything. So even though it's dark, like you lighting that spark just one more time sometimes is the brightest thing in the room because it's the only thing in the room, right? So when you have this idea that a spiritual path is just light and love and brightness and tripping daisies and cute little hugs and harmony songs and, you know, woohoo, it's really not. Because like to get to this level of understanding, you have to go through the dark night of the soul, right? So my question is, when it gets dark and when it gets ugly, how dark is it getting? Because the more you suppress emotions that aren't able to be expressed, the more we have inhibited responses which burst out later. They manifest themselves in outbursts of anger. Anxiety is a big one. I mean, anxiety's root really has to do with suppressed expression. And what I mean by that is, you know, whether it's childhood, whether it's we've had a situation where an individual didn't create a safe space for us to express, so we felt the lack of it, or the opposite, where we were either abused, told to shut up, or that information, which my family's notorious for, is using information to then flip it on you later. So you're constantly cautious about the data within how you express it rather than just expressing the emotion. And so anxiety creates this negative feedback loop where we have a lack of control and a lack of expression. And when we have a lack of control, that's a fear response. And what's a fear response but adrenaline? So we can't express our emotions because we don't feel safe, creates an adrenaline response. Build that all up and boom, you have anxiety. So without these natural places to express ourselves, we tend to bottle them up. You know, migraines, anger issues, depression, lack of sleep. And what is insomnia but that moment you get quiet to then lay in your bed and you have these repetitive, I call this linear thinking, right? A lot of thoughts that when they have a completion, they go through a series of events. What's the problem? We're going to solve it. What is the data and elements? And then we put it to bed. Okay, it's resolved. Whether good or bad, we go through these loops, right? Oh, I need to go to the store. I'll go at 10 a.m. I'll pick up this thing and then I'll come back. So that's like the loop of our thought processes. But what happens when we get this non-expression, when we have these moments where we're so busy, we have kids and work, and to be honest with you, 90% of what we do is useless shit anyway. So the time we spent on social media, the times we spent on substances and activities that aren't feeding our soul and our body, television, movies, you know, even some music, which trains us to not have healthy thinking. We're just not even going to go into that one because it's a whole other page in a whole other chapter. But we have all of this stimuli that raises our emotional level, but then has no expression. So we have, like I said, the TV, every single thing about TV, whether it's an emotional, you know, little teledrama like Days of Our Lives, or whether it's action-packed, you know, Fast and the Furious, it's always about adrenaline, which adds to our anxiety, and then we don't have expression. So these are all just pent-up emotions that, you know, we aren't able to safely express. So EQ is your emotional IQ. And what is that? EQ is all about, this is a big thing for me, and maybe because I'm learning to practice with it, and I'm also seeing how I can teach it to others and explaining to them that this isn't about shutting off your emotions and telling your body, your soul, when you're going to express them. You have to set it up in your life so it's possible for you to express these emotions all the time. And so currently I have coaches and really good friends that are doing the work. And so during some of these periods, I was able to like stick my hand up to the teacher and go, help, I'm not able to tread water and I'm starting to feel as if I'm going a little bit under. Help me process and help me navigate. And this isn't venting. This isn't talking shit. This isn't bitching or gossiping. This is, listen, here's my emotions. Two things happen. Where did I go wrong and how can I fix it? And the other one is, in this situation, is it reasonable to be feeling this way? Thirdly, you have an opportunity to look at your core on, whether you are coming from a place of love or resentment or unsatisfied needs or needs that are not being expressed. So in having these friends of mine and my coaching partner, Moxie, I told her some of the things that were going on. And yes, I get the ruler. I get the splintered ruler, little Catholic. Often, I'm okay with that. Like, it's not what I expect or how I expect, because at times she'll be like, what are you thinking? You're fine. And I'll be like, no, I messed this all up and how am I going to fix it? She's like, there's nothing to fix. Just be mad. Just be mad and let it go. Or be sad, right? So I have to tell you how ridiculously valuable it is to have people in your life that don't want to fix it for you, that want to create a safe space to say, yeah, I can see why that would piss you off. I get it. So what are you doing about it? The other thing about emotional states is not to stay in that state. So we don't want to be angry for a month at God, whatever. Like, we don't want to be angry about these things for a duration of time. If you have to be angry or sad or frustrated or resentment, or if you're feeling any of these emotions, process them a little. Forgive yourself. Ho'oponopono, right? I'm sorry. I forgive you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And thank you. Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the emotion. Because when an emotion comes up, like for me, I was so sad yesterday. And when I was processing the situation, I recognized that it wasn't sadness. It was disappointment, and how upset I was that certain individuals disappointed me in an unexpected way. And I don't know how long I thought I was going to stay there. It only lasted a couple hours, but allowing yourself to really look at it. Because if you take yourself and be like, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to cry, I'm not going to be mad, I'm not going to tell anybody about it, I'm not going to talk about it, I'm going to hide out. The minute you get to bed, you lay down and you don't have the stimuli, you don't have the TV, you don't have the social media, unless you fall asleep and hit yourself in the face with the phone. It is what it is. But insomnia comes from those unprocessed thought processes, those unexpressed emotions, and those thoughts. We end up on a linear track. So this thing happened and this thing happened and this thing happened, and we chase them so far that the train never stops. That linear thinking causes this negative feedback loop of how everything is going bad. So I have to tell you how ridiculously valuable it is to have support in my life, to where every moment an emotion is real. I don't care if it's the middle of the day, because I'm not going to just flip out all the time because somebody cut me off in Starbucks. But when I have these emotions come up, to have people in my life where every moment is real and there's nothing to shut down, having that expression is absolutely invaluable. So I think the core to all of this shadow work, doing the work, has to do with two things. Going to where, if it's a trigger, like where does the trigger seat? And what's it about? Is it real? Is it not real? Is it something you need to heal? So unexpressed emotions are sometimes all about pointing you to where you need to work at to heal. So it is all about shadow work. And how closely are you to your emotions? How close to the surface are they? Are you aware of them before a situation happens, like knowing this situation is going to upset me? And then you begin to navigate, like making sure you're in the right environment for the right time too, to give yourself the kind of grace that it takes to know some are coming. And if you need support through that, get it. If you don't want to do it at all, find out why, and you're going to find your anchors. But anyways, I did want to talk to you guys about that, and just remind you that you're never going to master these emotions. That's not our job. Our job is to surrender to the emotion as it comes up. Our job is to acknowledge it, give it an opportunity to find out what it's there to teach you, and love on yourself. Thank the lesson. It's in the last couple weeks I've been hearing, now this is better to hear this information, to have this experience, to clear it now rather than add 99 other things to it. And the one thing I'm going to use the word hate. I hate doing is telling people during a reading, for example, or during coaching, don't worry, this is for your greater good. Your husband died, but it's okay. It's for your greater good. What do you mean it's for my greater good? It's going to put me on a better path for my business and money is going to come my way, or I'm going to move out of the country or find someone else. But it doesn't make the pain of losing a mother or a father or a home or any crazy painful tower moment in our life any better, because it's all going to come out great in the end. Moving, like, platitudes do people no good, guys. We don't want to be saying to one another, it's going to be okay. Damn, that sucks. How can I support you? That's the other key. Don't say to somebody, you should or shouldn't be feeling this way, or I can see why you would feel this way. A lot of times, having a safe space to express the emotion is just enough for people. So maybe when you're hearing someone expressing their emotions, let's not try to fix it. Let's just allow them to express it and start using words like, how can I support you? What do you need from me? Sometimes people just say, tell me I'm not crazy, or tell me how I can make that not happen again, or how can I do this better? So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is you can't master your emotions, guys. Learn to navigate them. Surrender a little bit to it. Because here's what's true. When you stop struggling with them, because you fight against these emotions, they're going to come out like an explosion, a tornado, and just a big outburst. Just think road rage. You're so pissed at the school for some dumb stuff they make your kid get in trouble for, and you're driving home and now you're screaming at everybody. Well, it probably should have happened at the school, but then there's consequences. You need to express these things. So the gentler you are with the struggle, the kinder you are to the process, the less overwhelming they are to you. And I promise, I know I tell my daughter all the time as she has anxiety, it's counterintuitive to dive into it because they want to distract you. What color are you wearing? What street are you on? Where are your keys? Like, think about all the things to distract you from the emotion. I'm of the mindset, like, if that emotion is so overwhelming, dive in, because you want to see what's the worst that can happen with the emotion, right? So anyways, float, guys. Float. Allow them to flow through you. Allow them to be just what they are, and stop poking them so much. All right, guys, I am going to come back up here and I'll be on live doing Cancer, Leo, Virgo. Thank you for hanging out with me and listening to my rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I will catch you guys on the flip side, and I'll see you shortly.